Alrighty, YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. While the 49ers are expected to get Robert Salah back as their defensive coordinator, obviously nothing has been finalized yet. There has not been a pen to paper. Obviously, the expectation is that Robert Salah will return to the 49ers to be their defensive coordinator after Liam Cohen, the Bucs offensive coordinator, took the Jacksonville Jaguars head coaching job. And then obviously today as well, Pete Carroll reached an agreement to become the Raiders' next head coach. Now, with this, there is still reportedly a slight fear that the Dallas Cowboys or the Las Vegas Raiders could make a last-second offer for Robert Salah that San Francisco could not match, and that they could lose out on the sweepstakes of hiring Robert Salah. Now, you guys are probably wondering, what do you mean? The Raiders hired Pete Carroll. That is correct, of course. However, Pete Carroll and Robert Salah have ties. Robert Salah, early in his coaching career, was the defensive quality control coach under Pete Carroll for 3 years during his tenure in Seattle. Not to mention, but Robert Salah joined Gus Bradley's staff in Seattle when Gus Bradley was the Jacksonville defensive coordinator in 2014. Robert Salah was the linebackers coach and I believe a defensive quality control coach in Jacksonville. So Robert Salah has ties to Pete Carroll, and this goes way back to, those Legion of Boom days. Robert Salah and Pete Carroll have a very good relationship, and basically what this report is implying is that Pete Carroll, obviously, as, the new head coach of the Raiders, is obviously needing to assemble a staff, right? So could Pete Carroll make a last-second pitch to Robert Salah and make him an offer to be his defensive coordinator that the 49ers can't match? It's a pretty intriguing storyline here. Now, obviously, a report came out just a few days ago that said Robert Salah, during his interview with the 49ers, told the 49ers, Kyle and John Lynch, that if he does not land a head coaching job, he will become a defensive coordinator only with the 49ers. So, obviously, the 49ers have their word with Robert Salah. He did tell them, if I don't get a head coaching job, I'm going to return to being a defensive coordinator, and it will only be with you guys. Now, knowing the relationship Salah, Shanahan, and Lynch have, I don't think that Salah would go behind their back, tell them that, and then go to Las Vegas with Pete Carroll to coach that defense. On top of that, the 49ers have reportedly told Robert Salah that he will have some pull in who the 49ers draft on the defensive side of things. Robert Salah is basically a second head coach with the 49ers if he comes here. Obviously, the expectation is that he will be here, but Robert Salah will be in complete control of this defense. And the 49ers, again, allegedly retold him that he will also have pull in the NFL draft on the defensive side of things, basically meaning that if he basically will have, say, a big part in who the 49ers take on the defensive side of the ball, as he should. And then on the Dallas side of things, obviously they're in, what's being reported, the final stages of hiring Brian Schottenheimer as their next head coach. I guess this is basically in the kind of last stages, the final stages type of deal. Obviously, it's being reported that the Cowboys are very much so in on Brian Schottenheimer, their offensive coordinator from last year, becoming their next head coach because they do not want Dak Prescott to learn a new offensive system. So, could Jerry Jones reach out to Robert Salah last second, have a change of heart, and say, "Look, we want you to become our head coach"? And could Jerry Jones choose Robert Salah over Brian Schottenheimer? there's a potential. I don't see this happening, though. I think the Cowboys are pretty set in stone, according to a lot of reports I've read on hiring Brian Schottenheimer. He is the favorite to land the job and all of that stuff. So I don't see that happening, but there is a chance that could be, there could be a chance in that happening. So obviously, again, I mean, when you go back to the ties between Saleh and Pete Carroll, it runs deep, hence to why the 49ers in a way are worried about a last-second change of heart. Matt Barrows is obviously the one that kind of reported on this and put this report out. But Barrows further clarifies by stating, Robert Salah would join Carroll as the Raiders' defensive coordinator, obviously, if the offer is too good to pass up. So again, man, I obviously think that, and Barrows, again, at the end of this, all added that, all signs do still point to Robert Salah joining San Francisco, but however, it may be smart to keep a backup plan just in case the coaching carousel takes another unprecedented turn, which is probably a good idea. Like, the 49ers should have a backup option, and no, it should not be Brandon Staley, because obviously a report came out today from Matt Mayoko that he is not expected to return, and that Robert Salah basically wants to assemble his coaching assistants on the defensive side of things. And the 49ers obviously are honoring that if they get him as their defensive coordinator, which is expected. So obviously this is pretty intriguing in a number of different ways. Obviously the 49ers really want Robert Salah, and they're probably taking in, everything into consideration, going over, potential sporadic turns that this thing could take. To me, and my 2 cents on this, I don't think this happens. I think Pete Carroll would probably reach out to Robert Salah and make a pitch to become the Raiders' defensive coordinator. But again, Pete Carroll is a defensive head coach. Robert Salah will not have nearly as much pull being the defensive coordinator with the Raiders that he will in San Francisco with the 49ers, because again, it's being reported that the 49ers did tell Robert Salah if he becomes their head coach, he will have a massive say in who they draft on the defensive side of things. And you also, I mean, if that's the case with the draft, you also have to probably think that he will have say in who they bring in free agency as well. There's a lot of holes to fill on the defensive side of things for the Niners, and Saleh could obviously, bring in some other guys that he's coached with New York back to the 49ers, guys like Javon Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas, DJ Reed, who is a potential top suitor for the 49ers during free agency. So obviously, if the Niners get Saleh back, it is likely that, familiar faces could return to the Niners. Solomon Thomas, Javon Kinlaw, DJ Reed. And obviously that is the hope. Like, the 49ers need defensive line depth. They need a replacement for Charvarius Ward. DJ Reed would immediately come in, be a day one starter, and fit that role just as good as Charvarius Ward would fill that role. And he would be a cheaper option because Charvarius Ward's likely going to get a little bit bigger of a bag from a team elsewhere that is in dire need of cornerback help. So, again, I mean, he's not going to have nearly as much pull if he goes to Vegas. And then on top of that, like, does he really want to go to the Dallas Cowboys and work with Jerry Jones and whatnot? I just don't think that job is appealing. And again, all signs are pointing towards Brian Schottenheimer, their offensive coordinator, becoming their next head coach. So I think the 49ers are probably more worried about the Raiders situation and Pete Carroll making a last pitch offer that Saleh just can't refuse to become their defensive coordinator. But again, I think Robert Salah obviously wants to be a head coach, and he's practically going to be as close as being a head coach as he could possibly get with being the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, knowing that he's going to have a lot of say in who the Niners draft, and practically, he's going to be the guy to assemble his defensive assistant coaching staff and whatnot. So again, I mean, obviously you have to kind of take these things into account. To me, this whole situation seems very, very unlikely, though. I think Robert Salah is, I think him coming back to the 49ers is all but done. I think, this situation is all but over, bearing him just putting pen to paper, which I think could happen within the next few days. Obviously, that's obviously the hope. But we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, the Cowboys head coaching position is still open. There's nothing finalized with Brian Schottenheimer yet. But again, Brian Schottenheimer is the Dallas Cowboys' top choice. I think they're going to do everything in their power to keep him within the Dallas Cowboys organization and probably do everything in their power to hire him as their next head coach. But things are still in the works for that situation. So, yeah, man, we'll see what happens. But, obviously this is definitely something to keep note of because, again, Saleh has not officially signed a contract with the 49ers. And because of this, rumors will continue to persist. Whether it takes a day, a week, a month, the 49ers need to solidify Saleh as their defensive coordinator to consider this whole defensive coordinator search successful. So obviously, hopefully that is the case within the next couple days, but obviously we wait and see. So let me know what you guys think of this, though, in the comments down below. Do you guys think Pete Carroll could throw him an offer that he can't refuse? To me, it just doesn't make sense. I think he obviously has a very good relationship with Shanahan, with John Lynch, and I don't think if he really told the 49ers that he would take a defensive coordinator role only with them if he doesn't find a head coaching job, I don't think he would go behind their back and pull something like this. But who am I? We just seen Liam Cohen bail on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and go down to Jacksonville after pulling himself out of the conversation to be their head coach, verbally agreeing to stay in Tampa as one of the highest paid offensive coordinators, and then secretly flies down to Jacksonville and obviously is officially hired as their next head coach. So we've seen things like this. But again, I think Saleh, Shanahan, those guys are really tight. I don't think Saleh would do something like this. However, there is no pen to paper yet with the 49ers and Saleh. And until that happens, again, rumors will continue to persist. So let me know what you guys think of this report in the comments down below. And yeah, as always, go Niners. And again, hopefully within the next couple days, Robert Salah is officially back, puts pen to paper, and officially is the next defensive coordinator for the Niners.